You having fun yet? Oh, yeah, I'm having a blast. Thanks. Good. God, sucker teed off in that like he knew I was going to throw a fastball. He did know. How? I told him.
Yes. And the next time you screech, it'll explode into millions of eardrums.
Just so you understand, right now, out there on your own, your life expectancy is like here. With me, it's here. Without me, here. With me, without me. With me, without me.
Just however many times it takes, pump it, then you're in the water and off you go.
Hi. How are you? We're just figuring out what we're going to do. Hi. Should we clue them in?
Will you start?
Okay. Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are the Cinemaniacs.
Yes. Very good.
Hi, how are you? Usually it's 2 shots. That's cool. We are freshly here on a Monday afternoon. Not that that matters to you when you watch this show. But I just got here, physically and mentally. So if things are a little fuzzy...
I've been here for about 8 hours.
He has, because he puts in a long, hard...
I am
day.
the president of the board of directors.
He is my boss
for a while.
For
next month or two.
Yeah, until you just abscond.
I'm out of here.
All of the old mini DV tapes.
I've had it with this place.
He's had it up to here. Anyway, did you see any movies this weekend?
I did. Oh, before we get underway,
yes.
I need to say a happy birthday to my lovely wife, who just turned 30, didn't she?
Ooh.
Yes.
Cradle robber.
So there. Not that she watches. She never watches the show, but.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
If not the catch.
So, getting underway, shall we?
Yes.
Shall I?
Please.
I'd love to. It's a tough time when you're a guy and you love your family, you love your town, and you want everything that's best for it. Your brother, though, is kind of tired of it, and he wants to go off and make a name for himself. So he's going to join the government, damn it, and going to come back and make real trouble for you. And it's all going to have to come to a head in a big, huge race with a bunch of horses. That's what happens when your name is BEN-HUR.
Penetrating nubs gives you the targeted relief of a massage, plus the powerful, long-lasting pain relief of Ben-Gay.
Okay.
So before anybody gets all uppity about this being a remake,
yes,
the Charlton Heston film in late 50s was a remake of a silent film.
Right, 1925.
Albeit a remake of the same director. And
oh, was it really?
I believe it was DeMille remaking his silent film.
Interesting.
And to me, if you're going to remake something, do something different.
Absolutely.
Or have a reason to remake it, not just because people recognize the name.
But didn't you want to see the chariot race in 3D?
Okay.
No.
I saw this in. We're going to jump right in. I saw this in 2D just because of the way that the show times and the timing worked out for me. I can't imagine you get anything out of this movie in 3D.
Right.
Because
I agree.
See if you know where the rest of what I'm going to talk about is going. This was shot by people who, it's like they'd never touched a camera before. It was all of that quick zooms and trying to find the shot and going in and out of focus and shaky and shot 2 inches away from the action. So 3D requires your eyes and your brain to connect with the image you're seeing. Most narrative films that are post-converted don't work really in 3D because no shot is held long enough to even get the sense that you're seeing anything in 3D. So when I was watching this, occasionally there'd be a wide shot or something I would think, oh, that might work in 3D. But for the most part, you're flushing your money down the toilet, which you kind of are anyway if you're going to see this movie, because the 3D wouldn't do anything.
Right.
So to me, this movie was made for one reason. Remakes are only made for one reason anymore. Is because people recognize the name.
Right.
They figure Ben-HUR, people know that, well, let's remake it. Now to me, if I hear something is remade that I like, my nature is, well, I don't want to see that, I've already seen the perfect version of that. The only reason this movie was made after that to me is, we could do the chariot race. Because this movie, I knew that I was in trouble. It opens at the chariot race starting up, and I'm like, they're gonna do it, aren't they? I almost said the F word, because that's what I thought. And so you get them gearing up for the chariot race, and just before they go hee-haw, it says 8 years earlier. And I'm like, F you, movie. This is one of the biggest hack screenwriting things going. Every movie that does this makes me angry, because it's like, oh, now we're gonna see why this moment means so much.
Right.
Or it would mean so much if we just saw those moments leading up to it. It's like, don't worry, we're gonna do the chariot race. We're gonna put that right up front. So it's the story of Ben-Hur more or less. I don't remember the other film very well. I don't know the history it's based on very well. So I can't tell you how close
You mean
it
the
is.
Heston version or the?
Yeah,
right.
it feels
Nor do I.
fairly different from what I remember of the Heston version. And then when you finally do get to the chariot race, it is so horrendously and incompetently shot. It's like, what's the point? A movie from isn't film supposed to get better? Isn't anything supposed to evolve into something better?
You'd think hopefully filmmakers would learn something.
It's terrible. You can't see anything. It's all shaky, and you get somewhat of a notion of what's going on.
Right.
As for the acting in the film, it felt like a TV movie to me. The level of acting and the level of, because everything was shot so tight, it felt like they didn't have the money for more than a handful of extras at a time, except for those wide shots where it's a lot of Control V going on. Right. And it feels cheap. It felt like that Jesus TV movie that had Roman Downey in it, that was a TV movie that they put into theaters. So it felt cheap. It was kind of dull. I didn't care. Anytime anything exciting happens, it's impossible to even look at. There's a funny moment where Ben-Hur has been, theoretically, let's say, walking the desert. He's been a slave a long time, and right before he's going to go and hop on that chariot and kick some chariot ass, he goes from being all scraggly and long-bearded and long-haired. He picks up some sheep shears, and then the next shot, he's got like a buzz cut and like a an edgy hipster, closely cropped beard. And I'm like, wow, he is an amazing stylist with those sheep
have you
shears.
noticed how great the sheep look too? So
well, the sheep they had the names buzzed in the sides of the sheep's heads like that.
Exactly.
It looked like he was just stepping onto an Esquire cover.
Yeah,
it was so funny.
Pretty silly.
So I thought this was a total waste of time at 2 hours plus. I guess if you really want to see a chariot race but not really see it, and you have a big beef with films that were shot with class and style, maybe this is a fine film to watch. But otherwise, there's something else we're going to talk about that I would recommend over this.
You inevitably have to compare this to Heston's version because, as you say, that also was a remake, but that's the one everybody thinks of when you think of Ben-Hur. Now, while it is dated, the production values and the look and everything, if I were going to show this to the Heston version to my younger son, I'd realize, yeah, it's obviously shot a long time ago.
But you can go, a guy died making
this. It's so, that's nice.
And he'll keep wondering, where's the dead guy going to be? Yeah.
It's so far superior. As you say, do something better. And I didn't see anything done better. I thought this was really, really talky. Nothing really happens. It's all this build-up. I mean,
I hate to step in, but I don't want to forget. The opening, when they flash back to an earlier horse race between the guys, there is so much expository dialogue in voiceover, combined with the guys going, "You're my brother, and you're the Prince of Egypt." This horrendous interpersonal expository dialogue, and music and sound effects. My brain was short-circuiting. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I can't absorb any of this.
But for me, that's the thing. It's so much of this. The first hour of this is talking. I did find Malachi, I keep forgetting, I can't remember, the Roman brother, the adopted brother of Ben-Hur. I thought that actor, and you're telling me that he was in Boardwalk Empire. I didn't know.
I'm sorry, the Ben-Hur actor was in Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, okay. Well, then his brother, at least. I thought he was really good. I didn't find Judah Ben-Hur to be all that great. I didn't find Morgan Freeman, who was the big name in his old dreadlocks. I thought that was kind of painful.
You've reminding me of Travolta in Battlefield Earth for some reason.
Yep, he looked like that. You have this huge scene after Ben-Hur, who has been thrown on a slave ship, a galley ship, to be a slave, and he escapes. Of course, nobody else can, but he escapes drowning at sea and washes up, and Morgan Freeman's character takes him on and says, "Oh, I'll let you be, and you can win your freedom if you'll be a chariot racer and take care of my horses for me." And there's this silly half an hour sequence where they're training him, and Morgan Freeman is saying, "Oh, you must watch out and come and cut on the inside and watch out for." It's just strange and silly, and the whole thing was so talky. Action was not terribly interesting. Performance is not all that great, and I won't say that Ben-Hur was bad, but it certainly wasn't any good. It wasn't that interesting, and I see no reason to recommend it necessarily unless you're holy cow, you're a Ben-Hur aficionado, and you want to compare it to the other one just so you can be angry. I don't know.
Some people enjoy being angry.
I
have
think
learned
so,
that
yes,
in life, actually. I'm not one of them.
You think it's me over the past couple of weeks of
you just
my
don't
reviews.
Like anything, do
okay,
you?
well, but I do. And just wait later on in this show.
Ooh, before the show's over, Tom will like something. Speaking of liking something, we have another film with which to discuss with our mouths and our eyes and eyebrows. Who are you going to call when the powers of darkness are fast approaching from above, below, and slightly to the northeast, you get yourself, this is a horrible introduction for a movie this movie deserves better than this. It's called Kubo and the Two Strings.
Ice cold Coca-Cola for everybody at the refreshment counter now.
So I had heard very little about this until a week or so ago. And boy, all I was talking to the folks over at Keen Cinemas, and they're like saying 98% at Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody in the world loves this. And so I kind of go into this feeling, am I going to hate this again? And I'm going to be the only one. This was loads of not only fun, but really well made. Voice performances by, sometimes you and I have talked about, occasionally if they're so recognizable, it detracts. I was able to forego that. Matthew McConaughey, one of my favorites. So all of these voice actors whom I know just added to it for me. It didn't detract. Surprisingly funny, this little kid's adventure going through things. I think for little kids, it might be grim and dark,
I think
scary
it was legitimately scary at times.
Yeah. But I was really surprised at Kubo and the Two Strings. For me, it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm hoping that this will stick around for quite a while because I thought it was just terrific.
So I saw this and I loved it.
Okay.
Best movie of the year for me. That's
high praise, yeah.
I liked Nice Guys more because it was more exactly what I like in my life.
But as a film.
This is the best thing I've seen all year, easily. Animation is phenomenal. I'm watching this and I'm like, this is taking animation to new places. This is showing me things I haven't seen before in the style, because you've got, it's predominantly stop motion, but then you have, one of the things Kubo does is he does origami and creates these little characters that come to life, and that's just fascinating.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. It is legitimately creepy and scary at times. I'm watching this thing going, this is a little unsettling here. It's dark. It is funny. The music is really good. It's gorgeous to look at. This is a big screen experience. Don't wait for video.
Yeah, I agree.
And highly respectful of the culture in which it takes place. Like when I saw the last Kung Fu Panda movie, I was actually impressed with how respectful it was to Asian culture and history and all that. And I'm like, how about we get a movie that's not about talking chimps? And not that I love chimps, but how about we get a movie that isn't about talking dumb animals, and we get one that's people set in this kind of world? And that's exactly what this is. You're right on with the voice cast. I always get distracted when I recognize the voices. I had no idea I knew McConaughey did a voice for this, but even he doesn't sound like him in this.
Right.
So you're listening to the characters. And I always say, if they put John Cleese as a talking tadpole, and it's like, well, that's John Cleese. Let me think about all the other things I've heard him in. In this, that you were just watching the characters. It's intelligent. It is a fantasy in a big way. Like, I didn't know going in what this was going to be about. I thought he was having these flights of fancy.
Right.
And it's like, no. That's a flying dragon monster in the sky, and those are ghosts, and this is really, really cool. So yeah, I loved it, and I walked out of this movie saying, this is going to tank. Nobody's going to go see this because it's not stupid. And I hate to be rude toward audience people, but people like stupid crap. And if you look at the animated movies that do really well, that aren't Pixar and have a little bit of a brain, a little bit of a heart, they're dumb garbage. And I'm really worried that people aren't going to go see this.
I think this is one of the things, though, that can really survive and do really well on home video. I'm not saying wait for it, because I think you're right. This is just beautiful, gorgeous colors and everything. Yeah. This is something that deserves the big screen treatment, but I'm thinking and hoping that this will get enough talk, both from people like us and everybody else who goes to see it, that I think this is going to do pretty well on video.
And I will say, I saw this in 3D. The 3D is good. Yeah. And I love 3D, and I'm always disappointed that it never gets used very well, and it actually is used quite well in this. Sometimes it's a coming at you kind of thing, but mostly it's just, it tends to be the animated. It tends to be the 3D or the stop motion animated that uses this the best. It's produced by the Leica studio, which is the same people who gave us Paranorman, and I think maybe Box Trolls. And you really should stay through the credits if you go to see this, because it does some interesting things visually and kind of a quirky little behind-the-scenes moment that you get that's really neat.
Okay.
And I mean, right down to the last frame of the credits, it does something interesting. It's worth sitting through, and the music in the credits is really good. So I cannot recommend Kubo and the Two Strings highly enough.
Doesn't sound like it.
And it might be because we, and again, not to sound cynical,
comparatively,
we sit through so much garbage that when something is slightly better than garbage, it's good, and when it's a lot better than garbage, it's great. I hate to say garbage in the same context as this movie.
Summer in particular, it seems that way.
Not a lot of great.
I don't know.
So a great double feature. My recommendation, the double feature of the year, is you get the kids together and you watch Kubo and the Two Strings, and then you watch The Nice Guys. So speaking
Not with the kids,
of
maybe.
Nice Guys,
They'll do it in bed.
is the next film about a couple of nice guys?
Well, we might have to find out. It's based on a true story, so you can decide whether or not they're nice. A couple of 20-something guys who have been off and on really close friends for most of their lives decide that they're going to find a way to make loads and loads of money by bidding on government contracts. Again, based on a true story. Jonah Hill and Miles Teller are war dogs. Yes.
So I didn't see this. What did you think?
Okay, well, going into this, not crazy about either one. Here's my preconceptions. Teller, who was absolutely terrific in, I can't even remember the name of it now, nominated for an Academy Award, Whiplash last year, but a teenage, like a 12-year-old Mr. Fantastic, what was he doing being cast for that in Fantastic Four? So I'm kind of 6 of one, half dozen of another on him. Haven't seen him in anything I thought. Well, he was good in Whiplash, I guess. Jonah Hill, whom I really disliked primarily for the content of the films and the roles that he played until we got to Moneyball. And both because I like baseball, but I thought he was terrific in that. Giving him a lot of credit and thinking, you know, this might be kind of interesting. So I went in with kind of a chip on my shoulder about the two of them. One thing I do have to say, and this trailer does it as well, makes this film look like a comedy, and it is not. It's got some funny moments. Mostly those are the ones that you see. But this is much more of... I was just enthralled by the whole thing. Very interested in how Hill... You find out that Hill's character... and again, based on a real guy, I'm reading a book called Hackers, and he apparently, before he did all of this, was involved in the very early creation of computer hacking. And what they bring out with that book, just as an offshoot, is that's not a negative. That's just guys who know computers really well. So that helps him in this thing, and it was an interesting kind of tie-over. But Hill is not a nice guy. You find out that he's, and this isn't giving anything away, super manipulative. And so he brings in Teller, who is his friend from high school and junior high school, and they get together to build on this super huge, and this was a real incident, to deliver 300 million rounds of ammunition to Allied troops in Afghanistan. And then, so that's kind of the buildup. Lots of other little things that happen to them and show how they work well together. Maybe they don't work well together. And so it's about halfway through the movie before we get to that incident. And then the rest of the movie is how they get all that stuff there. I thought it was really fascinating. It's watching the two of them, strong performances from both of them. It's really Teller's movie. It starts with a voiceover, which for me is usually a bad indication.
8 years earlier?
But no, it doesn't do that. But we bought back and forth a little bit. But I really thought, I was surprised at War Dogs. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well made. Again, not a comedy necessarily, probably more dramedy with emphasis on the drama. But I thought War Dogs surprised me, and for what it wanted to be, I thought it was like a 7 or an 8. I was pretty surprised.
So it sounds like I chose poorly in which two movies I watched.
Well, at least one of them.
In one of them.
But you have to see the biggie. So.
Well, yeah.
BEN-HUR.
I'm glad I saw the one I wanted to see.
Right.
Well, I'm glad I saw the one I liked.
There you go. Right.
Glad I liked the one I saw. So that's all we have in theaters this week.
Yep. I want to thank everybody over at Keen Cinemas.
And we always do.
For that.
And then we move on to home video. Films and or programs which you can watch from the comfort of somewhere that's not necessarily in public. And first up, that would be, if I may.
You should.
You say you like playing games on your phone. Then you've heard of this. Based on the popular video game for your phone several years ago comes an animated movie that extrapolates the action of avian objects smashing into pig-like structures, and what do you know, they cleverly titled it the Angry Birds movie. So that's what I'm talking about, okay? You have Kubo, which is highly entertaining and has a brain and is classy, and then you have that. And that is what makes money, and that is pathetic, and that is sad, and...
Welcome to Hollywood.
Vote with your wallets, folks. What did you think of the Angry Boys movie?
I thought, I mean, again, we reviewed this when it was in theaters, and it didn't change. It's pretty, you know, lots of pretty colors and everything like that. But yeah, the content, put something there in traditional kids' movies, because this is aimed at really young kids. I mean, even, you know, 10-year-olds aren't going to find this too terribly funny, because the vast majority of it is goo and urination and, oh, you know, look, the American eagle is peeing all over everything. Isn't that funny? And
No.
you cut back to a reaction shot. Oh, my goodness. This was just so low-brained and lowbrow and not clever. You know, I love the game, but do I need a movie from it? No, I don't think so, and I didn't need to see the Angry Birds movie.
I guess the idea that this was in theaters is what was odd. It seemed like really late to the party to do this, and it also seems like the kind of thing that...
You mean for as long as the game's been around?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
why bring it out now?
It took this long to come out. And it also seems like the kind of thing that would go straight to video, like a straight to video cash-in. But the idea of a movie based on a phone game. But I mean, hey, there's a Tetris trilogy on the way. So hey, because people have heard of Tetris, everybody knows Tetris.
Guess,
let's make a $100 million movie out of it, which I guess is probably cheap now. I remember when that was a
Right,
lot.
yeah.
I remember when Terminator 2 cost $50 million, and people were like,
Right,
"This is
oh.
outrageous. This is offensive." Yeah, it was a great movie. Yeah, I didn't think much of the Angry Birds movie either. It was just kind of dumb, and again, for little kids. But again, you can have a sense of value of what your kids are watching, and it doesn't have to be dumb garbage all the time, because there are movies like KUBO, or 100-something years of film history to draw from that's better than garbage just because it's new.
Yes.
Speaking of garbage that's new,
Yes, maybe not.
I took mine out earlier today.
Oh, okay.
So
That's good to know.
that was new garbage. I just wanted to bring that up
Right.
to let people know I don't hoard garbage.
Tuesday's garbage day at our
Tuesday's
house.
garbage day in Keene here.
For us.
So is there anything else you saw this weekend?
Oh, well, I was going to, and in all honesty, I was planning on doing this. You remember that movie with Kevin Sorbo? I mean, when you think college professor, don't you immediately think Kevin Sorbo? I know I certainly do. And he got a question from one of his students, and this was a couple of years ago, about the existence of a deity. That one was called God's Not Dead. Well, they kind of made a decision there, and believe it or not, it comes up again. A female instructor in high school gets the same question, and she has to address it, and so you might as well call this movie God's Not Dead too. Because he may or may not be. You never know. It's one of those. We do have a clip, and it will be coming up very soon.
Neither of us have seen it. We're going to preface the
Right,
fact
I
that
actually
neither of us have
did
seen
rent it though, because I really did want.
It was
I looked at the
Thanksgiving
clip.
night when
and
I
you-
accidentally hit a deer.
The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away.
Now you notice they referred to a gender for the deity as well, so I thought that was kind of questionable. Thought the first one was just overwhelmingly stupid, and no one. I guess this is going to sound trite, but is it not really preaching to the choir? I don't know. When I saw the first one, I haven't seen this one, but in all honesty, based on that, I know I've seen a couple of the actors in there. They're good actors. One of the things that we've seen a lot of these religious films lately in the past couple of years, the production value is outstanding. The stuff looks great. And so I actually did rent this on Amazon, and I swear to God I meant to watch it so that I could talk about it tonight, and I just forgot. So by next week I will have a chance, because I thought it looked kind of interesting. The first one with Sorbo was just silly. And again, I'm kind of expecting maybe that, because it sounds to me like if you go in with a preconception, and how can you not? I mean, I don't know a lot of people who are just out there kind of wondering, I wonder if God really does exist. Either I think you believe in a deity, whether it's Christian or anything like that, or not. So I don't know who the target audience is for these kinds of things.
I believe in Susan Deity. She played.
Yes,
she played.
she
Laurie
was in the
Partridge
Partridge Family. Yeah,
I believe she's still around. I agree. We're just like, let's not review a movie we haven't seen.
Right.
The first one was laughably bad, and these types of films tend to be incredibly cheesy and bad. And I wish there was a way. Once in a great while, you get one. Like there was the Greg Kinnear movie.
Yes.
That was the same idea and pretty well made. It didn't feel like preaching to a zombie choir like a lot of these do. I wish there was the ability for these to be made that were a little less zealoty and glassy-eyed than a lot of these are, because you might win some people over, but generally they don't. They tend to, anybody who has a dissent of opinion sees them as comedy. So I really hope you do watch this, and let's talk about it next week, because I'm really curious to see what you think.
Okay.
Because I know, despite how it may come off on TV, you are a fair and balanced person, and you wouldn't just attack a movie for its beliefs and such.
Right.
Speaking of attacking films for their beliefs,
Yes.
that does anything to do with this.
We can say we can speak about it or not.
So
who really knows?
We return to what we lovingly call the Arrow Video Corner.
Indeed, we do.
Because the folks at Arrow Video, the folks at Arrow Video are kind enough to send us the majority of their releases, and they tend to be the kind of movies I like. So hey, so up now we have an early '70s giallo film, which is a term for Italian horror, thriller, crime films from the early 70s. I tend to like lemon giallo. He likes lemon giallo. That's really good, because it means yellow in Italian, in Italian, Italiana Douglas. Anyway, sorry, Arrow. So we have a film entitled, we're going to run a little clip, we're going to talk about it, and you're going to have the kind of day you have. It is entitled The Bloodstained Butterfly.
Pet milk way, oh, away out west where a man's a man. They mark their heifers with the pet milk brand.
Things don't go well for her, do they?
Yeah, I was going to say, she doesn't make it to the final reel. So this is interesting.
Yes.
It's a giallo film where there's a murder. Every giallo film basically is, or the Argento films. Right. There's a murder, somebody sees a little something, and the rest of the movie are trying to piece together what they saw to figure out who did it while the murders continue. This is different in that a suspect is caught and put on trial pretty quickly in this movie. So it's like a mix of giallo thriller and courtroom drama.
Right.
And then there's this other younger guy who's involved, and I don't want to give away. Okay, honestly, I didn't really understand the plot of this movie fully until I watched the extras on the disc, and then when I heard that was the plot, I'm like, well, that's brilliant. I want to watch this again.
Right. Yeah,
somehow
I wish I'd seen that movie.
That completely eluded me while I was watching the film. I wouldn't say this is one of the better giallos that I've seen, just because it's a little slower and a little more talky because of the courtroom elements of it. If you like Euro thrillers, this gives you the elements that you like. There's a J&B bottle in there somewhere. The music is really cool. It's got that Euro early 70s look.
Yes, very much.
In the interiors and the sets and the cars and the locations and the people that I really like. So I enjoyed this for what it was. I wouldn't put this as high as some of the other Arrow giallo films we've seen. But again, amazing transfer, as always with Arrow, and copious extras. So I love the giallo films, but I haven't seen a tremendous width and breadth of them, as it were. So this tells me all I need to know about the guy who wrote it, about the guy who directed it, about the person who scored it. They find as many people who are involved in the production who are still around as possible, and you get these lengthy, career-spanning overviews, and then if they focus on the movie, you get Euro and English and Italian language trailers and things like that, still galleries. So it's a really full picture of what this movie is, and moreover, what I like about these, it puts it in context for the whole genre of movies and the era that they're put out in. So yeah, I thought, which is all a long way of saying, I thought it was okay.
I also thought it was okay for many of the reasons that you cite. It looks great, not only the transfer, but it does have that very the feel of that decade. It looks very much like what I remember these movies of that time. Kind of languidly paced. Not that I'm looking for loads and loads of action, but it also, I got confused with when we do have a courtroom drama. A guy is accused and found guilty of the murder, but then they continue, and I'm like, whoa, and then it wraps up kind of toward the end, and I got confused as to which, this way going left and that way going right. One thing that you say on one of the extras does make sense, and I wish that had been brought out a little bit more clearly. So in the long run, it kept me going. It's not terribly long, kind of languidly paced, but if you like those kinds of, as you said, the giallo films, or you're a big Arrow fan, you get the same thing that they've constantly been bringing us, is a lot of great extras and a great looking film.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to think that we're just kissing Arrow's took us in this, because we will tell you if we don't like them. They just tend to pick movies, the kind of movies that we like. So there you go. So that's all we watched formally this week.
I had my tux on and everything as I was watching most of these. So
he watches everything.
It was very formal.
And if we have a moment, can I tell him about my weekend?
Sure.
Very briefly, but we have time. So a friend of mine named Harry Guerrero has a company called Exhumed Films. He and some friends have this company out of Philadelphia, and they put on retro film screenings. They also put on film screenings at the Mahoning Drive-In, where I go. This coming weekend, they're doing something called Camp Blood, which is 80s summer camp themed slasher movies. So Friday the 13th, 5, 6, 7 on Friday night, and Just Before Dawn, The Burning, and The Final Terror the following night. Jeff Lieberman, who directed Final Terror, I believe it is. I may be wrong. Jeff Lieberman, movie director, is going to be there. A couple actresses from The Burning are going to be there to sign things and take pictures and stuff. So it's really big deal and cool. And they do camp-themed games. So they'll do a tug of war where it's they'll do like tug of war. They did a potato sack race or three-legged race the last time where a guy in Jason costume was chasing people. It's fantastic. So this last weekend, he did a tribute to the godfather of gore, Herschel Gordon Lewis, who made the first gore movies in the early 60s, which when you see them as a younger, in days gone by, you watch these and you think of the early 60s, everything is very clean, studio films, classy, production code. And then this guy was making these gory movies in motels in Florida, and it doesn't jive. Even the people in it are very classy, crew cut, nice folks, and then somebody's got a calf's tongue they're holding. It's really weird. So he's famous for ushering in extreme violence in films.
Excellent.
And he's a very intelligent guy. He went on to be huge in the field of like direct mail marketing. He's like, guy's like a genius. He's well off. Anyway, Harry and the gang were running 5 of his movies, the classic horror movies this guy made, in Philadelphia, and they brought him there. And the man's 87 years old. These opportunities will not be increasing over time. But I had the ability to go there and shoot behind the scenes footage for this event, and also have lunch with Herschel Gordon Lewis, which was amazing, and just kind of hang out there all day. So it was very interesting. The footage may wind up as a Blu-ray extra on a future release from some company or another. But to be able to be in the presence of a guy, this is funny because I talk around here, I mention who it is and everybody's like, what, who? But in the right circles, this name means a lot. Sure. This guy's in the history books. So it was really exciting, and I don't know why I bring it up other than to gloat, I guess.
Right, yeah.
But it was really, really cool, and maybe
dropper
people will see the footage. He did Q&A. He did a sing-along version of the theme song to one of his movies. It was a really wonderful time, and everybody who made it out really is happy that they did.
Great.
So anyway.
Speaking of name dropping, however.
Yes, please.
I want to thank our director, Elias Elliott, and also Nick and Charlie, who are back in the control booth, helping us make this wonderful art that we bring to you.
I don't think Elias is even there. I think it's Nick and Charlie.
They're that, see, just right off the bat, boom.
There's been a mutiny.
There has been. Well, he needs to be kicked out of here anyway. Enough of those titles of him. I don't know.
So once again, our end credits will be totally wrong.
They're wrong. Great. Don't worry about it.
It's about in front
one of
the
these
camera
days.
With this show, really, So I guess until next week when we talk about films we don't know what they're going to be yet. Oh,
yes.
Don't Breathe will be one. I know Keen Cinemas.
Until next week.
Next week, right?
That's going to be kind of tough.
Don't breathe until next week.
Okay.
Don't even get up.
Yes.
Bathe though, because frankly, we can smell it.
That'll work.
Until then, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs.